From the land of frozen lakes, this is 10,000 Takes, brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene. And Wally, hard to believe, but it's the final episode of 10K Takes Television in 2022. The year has gone by at warp speed.
Yes, it has. And by the way, another year has gone by and no world titles to talk about.
Ouch.
It's been since 1991, baby, since the Minnesota Twins won the World Series that we had a world championship in a men's sport. So I thought, and we'll start out with the Vikings. I thought we'd talk about kind of our New Year's wish list for each of our teams. And let's start with the Vikings. They are front and center right now. They're headed to the playoffs. They won the NFC North. I think with that in mind, my number one wish for this Vikings team going forward is to win a game at a comfort level, kind of like they did against Green Bay early on. Let's not have these nail biters that they keep winning, these one-score games. I know they've gotten so good at it, but my goodness. I think Kevin O'Connell's gotten a lot of gray hair because of it. I know I've gotten a few more. I know you have, the Viking fan base, cardiac issues. Look, Minnesota Vikings, we need you to win by more than one score, more than 1 point, one field goal, one touchdown. Do like you did against Green Bay back in the opener. Let's start winning these games with some comfort.
Yeah, the comeback kids, boy, they've given a lot of their fans cardiac issues. Right?
Yes.
I mean, they may want to check into their doctor's office at the end of the season and make sure everything's good because they have walked a tightrope all season. They have a knack for winning these squeaker games, but will it continue? All right, well, I would like to see the Minnesota Vikings front office, specifically Ziggy and Mark Wilf, the owners, Bud Grant, the Hall of Fame head coach, and a guy who's not in Minneapolis a lot. He's based in Atlanta, but he's the legendary Francis Tarkenton.
I know where this is
would
going.
like to see these guys promote Chuck Foreman for getting into the Hall of Fame. It's long overdue. Number 44 was really the first trailblazer back in NFL history. He caught the ball and he ran with the ball, and he was excellent at both. He could also block. He was a four-down back, basically. He didn't come off the field because he couldn't pick up a blitz. They need to recognize the value Chuck Foreman brought to the Minnesota Vikings. He played in 3 of the 4 Super Bowls, and he was a big reason why they got to 3 Super Bowls on his watch. So they need to fix this. I've studied, this issue a lot, as have you. I've stacked his numbers up to guys like Earl Campbell and Gale Sayers and Floyd Little, all in the Hall of Fame. His numbers stack up, and beyond that, he played in more meaningful games than those guys. He played in Super Bowls. Campbell never did. Sayers never did. Floyd Little may have played in 1.
I think he played.
So other than that, you got to promote Chuck, get him in the Hall of Fame, just like Dallas did. Jerry Jones, Roger Staubach, Drew Pearson.
Yeah, good one. I like that. All right, I'm going to go off the field. Now, obviously, we all want them to win a Super Bowl. That's number 1 on the list. That's an easy one. But I'm going to go off the field with this one. And this is for the sake of the fans inside the building. You have labeled it, and rightly so, U.S. Bank Stadium, the house of noise. Please, can we bring down the volume in there on the piped-in music and piped-in sound? It's just, I mean, if you don't bring the ibuprofen with you in there, you're going to need it the minute you walk out, baby, because they just continue with it throughout the game. The organic generated sound by the fans, great. Blow the roof off the building. You'd physically like to do that. But I don't mind that at all. It's this sound that they pipe in constantly with the music and everything else. It's a football game. Let the fans carry the moment. Kind of like they do over at Allianz Field with the soccer club. Man, the fans carry the day.
Yeah, that's way more natural. And as you said, organic.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I'm going to also address something to the Minnesota Vikings marketing department. Can we get rid of these tiny soap bubbles that come out of the half-glass roof on game day? They try to act like it's snow falling from the sky. No, that shtick doesn't work. Look, you chose to be a dome team. You chose to not move back out into the Minnesota elements. Okay, that's your prerogative. I don't agree with it, but that's fine. You're a dome team. But don't insult me with soap bubbles falling from the roof as if it's snowing inside the House of Noise. It is not a cool gig. So get rid of that. Find something better, something more creative.
Yeah, that echo chamber in there with the noise and the snowflakes made out of soap.
Oh, my goodness.
It couldn't be more fake and plastic than it is.
Yeah,
and by the way, they got cracked foundations that they're suing the construction company.
It's antiseptic, it's sterile, it's homogeneous, and it's not good if you're a bird going down the Mississippi Flyway.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to talk about some of the other squads, the Twins and the Gophers and the Timberwolves.
10K takes your Happy New Year ticket.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Our New Year's edition of 10,000 Takes continues. We talked about the Vikings, our wish list for the Minnesota Vikings for 2023. The obvious one, of course, win a Super Bowl or a playoff game. Let's go Gopher football now. Let's stay in the football mode. So what is your wish list? What's at the top of your wish list for PJ Fleck's squad?
Well, it's more of a warning I'm going to issue to PJ and Gopher Nation. This season, I label it as an opportunity lost. The Big Ten West was as winnable as it's ever been, and Minnesota still couldn't find a way to capture the division title and go to Indy and face Michigan. So they're going to the Pinstripe Bowl in New York City. Okay. But next year, they got one more chance before USC and UCLA come into the Big Ten. And who knows who else? Might see Oregon. Might see Washington, Stanford, Notre Dame. This thing is not finished. It's not a complete and polished product yet, the Big Ten. It's still evolving.
Right.
So Minnesota Gophers, you better win the Big Ten West in 2023 and get yourself to the Rose Bowl or some marquee bowl, or dare I say it, actually knock off Ohio State or Michigan and Indy. Now or never. Because if it doesn't happen in 2023 with all these new programs coming in, pedigree programs in some cases, it's probably never going to happen.
Wow, he's used the N word.
I know, never.
Never.
Ooh, ow.
All right. Here's the top of my wish list for your Golden Gophers, and that is to give yet another extension to PJ Fleck. 1 year, an extra $1 million, because he already had, 5 years?
Yeah,
so add a 6th year. Let's double up. Let's give him a 2-year. You know what? Forget all that. Let's give him a lifetime contract, and let's add a couple million to that every year. Kind of like a Carlos Correa type deal that he got with the Giants, man. He's got, 13 years, $350 million?
You're not even going to wait to see if he wins the Big Ten West next season
Nope.
before you give him that lifetime deal? All right.
No.
You're all in.
I'm rewarding him ahead of time. See if he takes the cheese. Okay. Next topic. Your Minnesota Twins. You got a wish list for them? I'll let you start, because my list is long. I got about 6 pages of wishes on the Twins. I'll let you start.
I think the key for the Minnesota Twins is to somehow add a pitcher or pitchers who are relevant. Find yourself an actual ace in your rotation. They don't have one. They don't maybe even have a solid number 2 guy when you compare the Twins to, your primary top-tier MLB teams like Houston, like Atlanta, like the LA Dodgers, like the New York Yankees, even like your Cleveland Guardians. So they've got to up their pitching as far as the rotation goes and the bullpen. Without a solid bullpen, you don't win in today's Major League Baseball. Beyond that, Rocco, Garrick Falvey, Thad Levine, quit relying so much on the computer, this paralysis by analysis stuff and all this analytics. It's not working. Go on what your eyes tell you and what you feel in your gut. And tell these guys you want them to play every day. Play every day.
Oh, that would be nice. Well, mine's along the same line. You kind of stole half of one of mine, but I'm going along the lines. You mentioned pitchers. What pitcher wants to come to Minnesota and know that he's going to be yanked out after 4 or 5 innings?
Or with a no-hitter going.
Yeah. Joe Ryan had a no-hitter going, yanked him out of the game because we got to pitch him next Saturday. Heaven forbid he goes over 100 pitches. He pitched 85 in that game, oh, by the way. Lord, please, Rocco, tune in here. Leave your pitchers in long enough so that they can go as far as they can go. Don't pull them out every single time at 85 or 90 or 100. If they're mowing guys down, leave them in there. Let them go the next inning or two. If they start getting rocked, if they start getting hit, get them out of there. Your bullpen isn't deep enough for you to be able to do this. Cut it out. As Eric just said, manage more with your gut and get rid of that stinking computer.
And a newsflash, not just to Rocco, but to most of the other MLB managers. It's okay if a pitcher faces a lineup the third time around if that pitcher that night is in a groove.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, Minnesota Timberwolves, you got a wish list for them?
Well, somehow get back into the playoffs, preferably not as a play-in team, and advance. I mean, that blockbuster deal for Rudy Gobert has got to pay dividends where they go deep into the NBA playoffs because they gave up a boatload of draft picks and a lot of key players. So it's all on Rudy and this team coming together and figuring things out, but I'm not optimistic about it.
All right, the top of my wish list for your Minnesota Timberwolves, somewhat related to what you just said. I want the Minnesota Timberwolves to go out and trade for Patrick Beverley. I don't care if you have to trade Rudy Gobert to get him. Get Pat Bev back in a Minnesota Timberwolves uniform. He was the gasoline on the fire. Maybe he was the fire on the fire. He's part of the reason that they were able to get into the postseason, win a play-in game, and actually give Memphis a little run for their money last season in 2022, the spring of 2022. Bring him back before that trade deadline in early February, and your Timberwolves will be back in the postseason.
And dare I say it, Pat Bev, who's out there in sunny SoCal, wants to come back here to the frozen north.
Imagine
so this
that.
is a union that should happen.
All right. All right. We need to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to a young man and his coach from Ukraine. The coach is from Minnesota, and he's playing hockey in Minnesota. We'll have that for you after this.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
And 10,000 Takes continues. And we heard about a great story a couple weeks ago, Eric, of a player, a hockey player, going to Minnetonka High School from Ukraine, got away from the war back in March, came to Minnesota, and is now playing hockey in Minnesota for a junior gold team out there. And we are happy to have him with us right now. His name is Max Cherevatenko, and he, along with his coach, Mike Woodley, joining us here this week on 10,000 Takes. First, let's go to you, Max. You guys got a victory. Your 5-2 victory. Things are going well for your team. Do you enjoy playing this level of hockey here in Minnesota?
Yeah, the level of hockey here is good. All team, all teams are good, and yeah, they do a lot of shots.
And Mike, I know you've been around hockey a long time. Grade Max's game in the nets. Has it been a seamless transition as far as on the ice productivity?
I mean, keep in mind he's 15 years old, and he's going against 18-year-old seniors, and the hockey level is really good. The junior gold level is some really good players, and I was a little worried at first just because he doesn't have the maturity of some of the other kids, but boy, is this kid focused. And he's played well. I mean, numbers speak when you're a goalie, right? We played against Craig Sarner's team up in Orono, and he's got 5 kids that played varsity last year on the Orono team, and Max gives him a shutout. Of course, we couldn't score, so it's a 0-0 game. But we just finished against a very good Wayzata team. Always very credible, good players in Wayzata, and as you can tell by their high school team being so good, this junior gold team is solid too. And we just beat them 5-2, and Max led the way. So it's been a good start for Max and our team. We're enjoying having him, and we're doing pretty well too.
So tell me a little bit about the story, Mike, because you just saw, and I read the account of it, you just saw kind of a strange name on your roster that you got this year, and Max's name, and you thought, gee, I wonder where this kid is from. And take it from there and let us know exactly how it transpired that this young man from Ukraine, whose hockey rink back in Ukraine got hit by a Russian missile. So this is no joke.
It is a great story, and the Hess family had gotten to know Max in years previous, so at least there was some familiarity there. But I first heard about Max when he tried out for the Minnetonka varsity team, and Sean Goldsworthy likes him a lot. But obviously, there's a lot of talent at that level, and I'm not even sure if the varsity would have been a good fit for a 15-year-old, this early. So, but Sean likes him a lot, and he's going to be around a couple more years. I wouldn't be surprised if this kid ends up going to varsity. But I heard about it, and I heard about the story, and I just said we got to get behind this kid. And you know, there's so much politics and talked about the war, but this is a kid, this is a family, and none of that matters. What matters is our hockey community being strong and coming together and really help somebody out. Because I can't imagine being that age and suddenly my parents letting me go away and maybe unsure if really they'll ever see them again with all that's happening in the world. And the Hess family, bless their hearts for taking them in. And now we're just going to be his hockey family and see what we can do to make this a little bit better for him. But he's doing well on his own, but we're going to be there for him no matter what he needs, even after the hockey season.
And Max, tell us about the transition. Obviously, what's going on in the Ukraine has been horrific. So you obviously are thinking about back home, but then you make this move to the U.S. How has it gone? What do you like about Minnesota? How has everything gone for you?
Yeah, this stuff going on in Ukraine still, and I haven't seen my parents for so long. It's hard. Um, the favorite thing in Minnesota, I think it's because the best hockey in Minnesota and very good people in here.
And Mike and Max as well. Ukraine strong. We've heard that phrase a lot the last few months here in the U.S. I feel like this country is, very supportive of trying to help out. And this is Minnesota's way, specifically Minnetonka's way, isn't it, Mike? Of giving back and propping up a kid, isn't it?
It's been great. I mean, when you're coaching kids at any level, and I know you guys have been around athletes, and we really want our kids at this level, even the ones that might not go beyond junior goal, to be better men. And that's what we're doing. And I think they're learning a lot about Max. I think they care a little bit less about what Xbox they're going to get for Christmas this year because they know what he's going through and being away from his parents. And I think all of our kids are going to be better people because of Max. And it is an amazing story. And I'm just so glad, again, the pieces have all come together. We're just a small part of it as his hockey family, but the Hesses have laid the groundwork. I get messages from Max's mom and dad all the time, and they spend a little bit of time, they have electricity watching our replays. And that's pretty special.
Yeah, and I know his dad is part of the war effort, and his mom has been trying to avoid the war, in eastern Ukraine. Talk about what you've seen, the progress for Max, because he's been here since March, You know, we're in December now. We're in late December now. What kind of progress have you seen from Max, not only as a hockey player, but, you know, integrating himself with his players and learning the language and so on?
Well, his English is getting better all the time. I've made a point of getting to Max before all this media stuff got, and it's been a crazy. And Wally, you were the first one, so thank you. But we've had a lot of people getting behind it. I didn't want it to be too much. You know, I want Max to be a kid. I want him to have fun. I want him to know we're there for him. But this media stuff can be a little bit crazy, and we've been really careful not to try to give him too much. But I think he can handle it, and he's here, and we just want to help him through all the stages. We're helping if there's immigration stuff. We're talking to people. I had a nice meeting with Buck Humphrey and some other guys I know that are involved with that. They're going to be there if need be to try to help out. So all we can do is just lay the support. But I tell you, he's just a laser focused, smart kid, and I know he misses his family, and I don't blame him. But we got to try to make it as good as we can for him here.
And I guess the great thing about sports, it's universal. It's a game, but it can also be an escape. For Max and Mike, maybe you can address this as well. Is this his island? Is this his oasis to bring some smiles and joy to his life? Well, he also knows that what's going on in the Ukraine is very serious.
Well, I don't want to speak for Max because he can stand up for himself, not only in net but in life. But yeah, we just really hope so. I mean, can you imagine? Well, you were 15 once, not too long ago, both you guys. You're told to leave. You get on a bus for 24 hours to get to Poland, to get on a plane, to fly all the way to Minnesota, and leaving your family. You can bring one bag, only one bag, right? What bag does he bring? It's his hockey bag.
Of course.
That's all you got to say. That's all I needed to know.
All right, Max, tell me what you have learned while here in Minnesota. What's the number one thing that you have learned and that you like about being here in Minnesota?
Appreciate things that you have.
Anything in particular? How about the hockey? I mean, that's got to be high on the list, right?
Yeah, hockey make me don't think about the war.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, Mike, Max, we really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. I know that, you wanted to get the story out and get it told, and we wanted to be part of that, and we're happy to do it. Continued success on the ice. I know it's been a good season for you so far, and it's early on. We're not even into January yet. And you just lifted the lid off this season. So good luck through the rest of the season and the school year, and hopefully you'll be able to see your family soon. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Hey, Merry Christmas, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Same to you.
Yeah, same to you. They are Max Sharavatenko and head coach Mike Woodley right here on 10,000 Takes. Stay with us. Back with more after this.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earrings. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
$10K Takes Television, final episode of 2022. Normally, we would do takes of the day, but
Yes.
we're going to give the mood meter a break.
Unplug it.
Yeah, it's unplugged. Instead, you and I are going to look back at 2022 and choose our top two Minnesota-related sports memories. And you can bat lead off.
I will bat lead off. I'm going to get to some baseball. I think honorable mention certainly goes to, and this is an easy one, of course, the Vikings with their epic comeback, setting an NFL record, coming back from 33 points down to beat the Indianapolis Colts and clinch the NFC North at US Bank Stadium. I mean, that's an easy one, probably might be number one on everybody's list across the state. But I have a couple shall we say, tongue-in-cheek nominees. Number 2 on my list. I happened to be in Cleveland, Ohio at Progressive Field back in mid-September when your Minnesota Twins were in Cleveland to try and get themselves back into the race in the American League Central Division. Well, it didn't pan out for your Twins, but it did for the team formerly known as the Cleveland Indians, as they dispatched the Twins and sent them reeling through the rest of the month of September and into the offseason with nothing. Meanwhile, Cleveland went on to win a postseason series and nearly took the Yankees out in round 2. And then my number 1 memory, and number 1 moment, I should say, from 2022 was back in March. I've got the date written down, March 13th.
Of course he does.
It's Twins related again. Yes, I know that they were still in spring training and the season hadn't started yet. But that's the day that the Minnesota Twins dealt away Josh Donaldson to the New York Yankees. Yippee skippy, they got rid of this guy. Josh Donaldson, who was a drag on their salary cap. A $21 million contract that he had. They got rid of that. They got rid of him loafing down to first base every time he gets a hit, and his whining and his complaining and everything else that he brought to Minnesota that was undesirable. Yeah, he's talented, we know, but I was thrilled that they were able to get a couple of players, Gio Urshela and Gary Sanchez, who I thought were nice fits in Minnesota. Sanchez had a so-so season. I liked Urshela. But goodbye, Josh Donaldson, my number 1 sports moment of 2022 in Minnesota.
And needless to say, you did not send a Christmas card to Josh.
No.
Okay, well, as I look back, honorable mention on my list.
Okay.
How about Mountain Dan Hobbs? He's from Bloomington, Minnesota. But in July, he was out in Colorado. They have 58 peaks of 14,000 feet or higher. It's called 14ers. He hiked all 58 14ers in a record 14 days.
Wow.
Yeah, how about that? A guy from the pancake flat Midwest goes out to, high elevations and gets it done. So that's my honorable mention. But my top 2 would be mid-April. LA Dodgers, Minnesota Twins, interleague series at trendy Target Field. Dodgers don't come here a lot, so I had to at least get to one of those games. And I remember the Tuesday game. It was raining, it was snowing, there was a long delay, but the Dodgers won. They swept the Twins in all 5 games last season. And so as that game finished up, then I hustled about 100 yards east across Target Plaza inside a hopping and joyful Target Center and watched a play-in game. The Minnesota Timberwolves knocking out the LA Clippers, and Pat Bev going ballistic at the end of the game and taunting his former Los Angeles teammates. It was good theater. So one LA team won, one LA team lost, and I was able to see both of those events. But my number 1 moment happened on New Year's Day of 2022. What a way to start the new year. The NHL Winter Classic finally came to Minneapolis, Target Field. Epic cold, minus 10 degrees. It was a frozen snapshot in time, but I thought it was a wonderful event staged by the NFL, the Wild, and the Twins. Unfortunately for Minnesota Wild fans, St. Louis crushed the Wild that night. Of course, the Blues usually beat the Wild when they go head-to-head. But there you go. And on that note, we got to go. Let's FedEx out our thank yous. One to David Weld, one to Rocky, one to Maxim, also one to Mike Woodley. For Wally, I'm Eric saying so long. This is 10K Takes, your happy New Year's ticket.